Brain-dead globalists and gentlemen. Now that Walter Cronkite, or should I say Walter Cronkite, has passed away, the antique media is swooning over this giant of journalism, and I use the term journalism loosely, and lauding his accomplishments. I use the term accomplishments loosely as well. I would like us to remember Walter Cronkite for who he really was. An advocate for libtards everywhere, a big government statist, and a crackpot globalist. In 1989, Walter Cronkite spoke to a dinner organized by People for the American Way, a group funded by Norman Lear. His candid politics surprised even that audience. Walter Cronkite said this: "I know liberalism isn't dead in this country." Yeah, he's so objective. "It simply has temporarily, we hope," objective journalist, I think not, "lost its voice." About the Democrats' loss in this election, it was not just a campaign strategy built on a defensive philosophy. It was just an opposition that conducted one of the most sophisticated and cynical campaigns ever. It was the fault of too many who found their voices stilled by subtle ideological intimidation. We know that unilateral action in Grenada and Tripoli was wrong. We know that Star Wars means uncontrollable escalation of the arms race, or we can disarm, and they'll continue to rearm. Excuse me, arm and rearm. We know that the real threat to democracy is half a nation in poverty. That's a little high there, Walter. Of course, anytime the Democrats are out of power, everybody's in soup lines, and the moment they take office, it's nirvana. It's economic nirvana. Of course, Walter also didn't know, probably, that poverty figures are not calculated the way they should be. For example, a lot of people get in-kind benefits, like food stamps, WIC, home heating assistance, etc., and that doesn't count on their income, and that lifts a lot of people out of poverty, but yet they're still counted because they don't count those in-kind benefits. Here's what else Walter said. In 1999, he appeared at the United Nations to accept the Norman Cousins Global Governance Award from the World Federalists Association. He told those assembled, including Hillary Rodham Clinton, that the first step towards achieving a one-world government, his personal dream, is to strengthen the United Nations. Really objective reporter, wasn't he? He said this: "It seems to many of us that if we are to avoid the eventual catastrophic world conflict, we must strengthen the United Nations as a first step toward a world government patterned after our own government with a legislature," yeah, patterned after our government, right, "executive and judiciary and police to enforce its international laws and keep the peace." Little problem there, you got the U.S. Constitution standing in the way of that, but, I digress. That's never stopped them before. To do that, of course, we Americans will have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That would be a bitter pill. Not for him, though. It would take a lot of courage, a lot of faith in the new order. He should have put world in the middle of that. Sounds like George Herbert Walker Bush's New World Order. Later, in an interview with the BBC, Walter Cronkite described this new order as something that sounded like a militaristic world dictatorship. "I wouldn't give up on the UN yet," he said. "I think we are realizing that we are going to have an international rule of law. We need not only an executive to make international law, but we need the military forces to enforce that law and the judicial system to bring the criminals to justice before they have an opportunity to build military forces that use these horrid weapons that rogue nations and movements can get a hold of. Germ and atomic weapons." He spoke openly about the need for America to give up its national sovereignty. American people are going to begin to realize that they are going to have to yield some sovereignty to an international body to enforce world law. And I think that's going to come to other people as well. He said, "It's a fair distance to get there, but we are not going to get there unless we keep trying to push ourselves onto the road." And of course, because Walter was an idiot, He doesn't realize, of course, this will lead to a global currency, which, of course, central bank collusion will become even more rampant. And, if you gain control of the currency, you manipulate it like the Federal Reserve has done so many times. And Federal Reserve was created to control, keep massive deflation and inflation out of the way and keep everything normal and pattern and not allow these large swings in inflation and deflation. They did a great job during the Great Depression, not. Did a great job in the 70s, not. And of course, with this world currency, they will own us effectively. And on another note, Walter Cronkite never graduated college. And I seem to remember a lot of liberals making hay about Rush Limbaugh not graduating college, and just, denouncing him and throwing his opinion out just on that. So I guess we can do that to Walter now. Lastly, there's been some libtards, on YouTube and just out there in society in general, denouncing nationalism, people who are proud of their country and where they come from, and proud of the U.S. being the greatest nation on the face of the earth, which it still is, for now. Yet, they don't like free trade, it seems like they want to globalize everything and get us under the thumb of a one world government, a UN, a United Nations, which, somebody like Kofi Annan having that much power, or Ban Ki-moon, is scary. But yet they don't like free trade agreements. They want to protect all our domestic industries and scuttle all these free trade agreements with Canada, Mexico, places like Australia, Morocco. We've been pushing for free trade agreements with like Taiwan, South Korea, Panama, Colombia, and they don't like that. But yet they want to globalize and they want to put us under the thumb of a one world government. So that sounds kind of contradictory there. So there it is. There you have it, folks. Walter Cronkite remembered for what he really was, a liberal schmuck who was completely biased, completely unfit to read the news, and a globalist crackpot to boot.